friends, today I am bringing you a cozy fall book haul. I want to show you some of the things I got when I did a visit to my favorite used bookstore. There is a wonderful bookstore about an hour from me, and I happened to be out that way because I had time to kill in between a meeting. I had my eye out on a few things I was looking for, and of course, when you have your eye out in one or two things, you end up finding a bunch of other really great stuff. Today, I'm going to show you the few things that I grabbed and let you in on some changes that I am making, if you haven't already guessed by the books that I'm hauling. Hi, my name is Brecky and I'm the mom of 4. I have 2 daughters that I am homeschooling. They are in 1st grade and we homeschool in a secular way. We are eclectic but very inspired by Charlotte Mason, and this is our 2nd year homeschooling. Kindergarten, now 1st grade. It's been a delight. I also have 2 kids that are in high school and they've been publicly schooled the whole way. Here is a little book haul of some really awesome things that I was able to get at my favorite used bookstore. This entire haul that you see came in for less than $45, which feels like a win to me when you see just how much there is. And the first things first is that I bought this little game called Catch Combinations of 10 or Make 10 or something. And this is a math game. It was $5. It probably really wasn't worth $5, but I really want to add some prepped games. This is basically one of the games that is recommended in Math with Confidence. Sorry if you can hear my dryer. It literally just kicked back on, so hopefully it won't be too loud. But this Make 10 game is basically one of the kinds of games that Kate Snow recommends, and I think this will be a little bit more fun and we'll play it more if it feels like a game and not like a school game. You know what I mean? Okay, that was the only game that I purchased. Sometimes I come away with some great games, but we didn't have a big game haul. Now here is the big old stack of books. I went in looking for some Native American folklore, some nature writing. In fact, was actually the #1 thing I was looking for, was some nature writing. I wanted to see if they had a copy of like the Burgess Bird book or similar. And then I always go and see if they have any homeschool curricula, because they have a shelf of homeschool curricula and I like to see what's been donated since the last time I was there. I sometimes come away with great finds. The first one that I grabbed was North American Indians. This is dated, but obviously because they say Indians instead of Native Americans or Indigenous Americans. But for 60 cents, I am going to pre-read this. But this might be nice. November is Native American Heritage Month, and so we are going to be kicking off some new curriculum in November. Then I have Raven, A Trickster Tale from the Pacific Northwest, for a full $1.75. And here's some of the art to give you a sense. And I'm excited to add this one. I have 3 or 4 folklore tales already, so we're going to be adding these. Then I have 13 Moons on Turtle's Back, a Native American Year of Moons. And this Joseph Bruchach, he does a lot of Native American retellings. And I don't know if he himself is Native American or not, but I've seen several Native American folktale retellings from him. Then I got this really cute book called Celebrate Connections Among Cultures. I'm excited to pair this in a once a week or once every other week cultural geography read. I just think that pairing this with the Childlike Me spine that we had from last year would be super cute. Grabbed some science books from Seed to Sunflower. This is a life cycle book, and I really want us to do a life cycle study at some point. So I think that this will be a good one to have on the shelf. This one is so cute. So this is Me and the Measure of Things. There is a whole Me and series, Me and My Body, Me and My Place in Space, Me on the Map. And we have Me and My Body and Me on the Map. And now we have Me and the Measure of Things. And so I think I will incorporate this in as a read aloud when we get to the unit on measuring in Math with Confidence. This one is for me. I'm learning to knit, so I grabbed 60 quick knits. This is really just a bunch of different knitting my brain wants to say recipes, but it's like instructions, plans for knitting. And so this was super cheap. And I have been asked to knit the girls' hats. So if I can buy a book with a bunch of different options rather than buying just one online knitting plan, then that's what I would prefer to do. Then I picked up, and this is probably for next year or maybe even the year after, depending upon what cycle we end up on, Roanoke, The Mystery of the Lost Colony. We don't live far from here. In fact, we often drive by the Croatan National Forest. So, I mean, we don't live near actual Roanoke, but we do live not far from this region of things. So yeah, excited for this book. This is the second book in the Kingdom of Renly series. My daughters love this series. We do have the first book, and so I decided for a whopping 75 cents, I would get the second book, and then these could be incentives as they start reading on their own to have some of their favorite books on hand to pick up. Children of the Wind and Water, 5 stories about Native American children. And then this one includes 5 stories about the experiences of the Muskogee, Dakota, Huron, Tlingit, and Nukta children. So I'm excited about this because what I will do is I will pair this with each tribal community that we are reading about when we start our new curriculum. Yeah, our new curriculum. You're getting a sneak peek. You're getting a sneak peek. Squanto's Journey, we've read this before. I love it. I think it's going to be a great one to have on our shelves and have this as one of our Thanksgiving books. I just think that this is really sweet. And I think, you know, it's not the most accurate, but it is still a little bit better than some of the early Thanksgiving things. And just to, again, I want them to know the mythology of what we tell ourselves about Thanksgiving, but then I also want them to have some, you know, but I want them to have some other voices giving more accurate history as well. So adding this one to our shelves. Then I had to grab this one. This is Joan of Arc by Diane Stanley, who also wrote the Cleopatra book that we already have. And this is, I know this is an Ambleside online read. And I think that this is recommended if you do the Middle Ages with Story of the World. I think this is a recommendation. I love Joan of Arc. I am thinking very seriously about getting a Joan of Arc tattoo because she is famous for saying, "I am not afraid, for I was born to do this." And I love that. I just really, really love Joan of Arc as a person and as sort of a cultural folk hero that she has become. All right, this is Spanish level 1 and just like super, super simple practices. And I was sort of thinking I could use this for myself or for my kiddos and just copy the pages. And it was a whopping 75 cents. So, you know, that lets you take a risk. Those cheap prices mean you can take risks on things that even if I only used 3 or 4 pages for 75 cents, that's not a bad deal, you know, to see if it would work for us. Okay, then I got American Tall Tales by Mary Pope Osborne. I've had my eye on this for a while, but with some new curriculum that we're getting, this is one of the literature picks for our new curriculum that we are going to be picking up sort of, I don't want to say mid-year because it's not mid-year. We're going to start it in November. But so this is American Tall Tales. This is Mary Pope Osborne. We love Mary Pope Osborne. So I'm looking forward to be reading through those. Then I grabbed The Double Life of Pocahontas by Jean Fritz. Jean Fritz has written a lot of history and she kind of has sort of an irreverent take. And I am thinking that this might be a good biography and possibly a good read aloud for us. This might be a read aloud that gets moved to next year, if I'm being honest, based on some different things. But we are doing a Native American study. So I like the idea of having something that's more true to life than like the movie and the picture book tend to be, but it's not super long and we can do it this year or we can move it to next year and it would still be great. So I went ahead and grabbed that. It was 50 cents. Then this is A Field Guide to Your Own Backyard, Seasonal Guide to the Flora and Fauna of the Eastern U.S. I think that this book is one of the recommendations from the Alvieri, like their natural history readings from a couple of years ago. And I really liked the idea of reading through different stuff in our, and then it's like, it's all split up by season, things to look for by season, and we do live in the Eastern United States. So I liked the idea of grabbing this and using this as a part of our nature study rather than something arbitrary that's just set because that's what the rotation says. So that is something that I'm looking forward to. And then the other, now I went through and looked at all the naturalist writings. I was looking for Arabella Buckley. I was looking for, I think her name is Clara Dillingham, I don't remember, but I was looking for her. I was looking for Edith Patch. I was looking for any of the Burgess books, anything in that kind of vein to see if my used bookstore had them, and they didn't have any where we were. I'm going to probably look at the homeschool curriculum store, but an hour in the opposite direction, and see if they have any. But I did find some Cy Montgomery, The Curious Naturalist, Seasons of the Wild, A Year of Nature's Magic and Mysteries. And Cy Montgomery is sort of famous for, in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, writing a book about an octopus, and then writing a children's companion to it that people have said is really, really lovely. She is not on YouTube anymore. I mean, her old videos are, but Jill over at Patterson Homeschool Academy, who is just, what a gem. I'm sad she's not making videos. They read, I think, the story about the octopus and just were tickled by it. Her 4th grader read it. And so if Cy Montgomery, if this is something that is age appropriate and digestible for my kids, I would really, really like to do some short writings. And this starts with autumn, and we're in autumn right now. And then the little stories are super short, or the little essays. You know, it's like 2 of these pages. So we'll see. This might not be appropriate for this year, but it could be appropriate for future years, or it could just bless me by giving me some good nature writing. Grabbed a copy of Charlotte's Web because that is one of the books that we may or may not read this spring. I do have a literature single. I have a dart for this from Brave Learner. And I really, really like the Brave Learner, Brave Writer community. That's really my jam. Like, I want to be Charlotte Mason, Brave Writer, kind of in my homeschool. I really like a lot of the alviary, but some of it is a little bit too evangelical for me. And I really, really like the Brave Learner kind of philosophy, but I need a little bit more structure than Julie Bogart has. So those are my 2 polls that I'm running with. Anyways, I grabbed this. It was $1.50, which is super awesome. I think it's because it has the movie picture and not the classic picture, which is fine. Then I grabbed Stamped for Kids about racism and anti-racism. And we have the original adult one that is really difficult. I did not finish it. It was tough, but I wanted to have this one. My kids are not ready for this yet as 6-year-olds. At some point, I'm going to read through this myself, and then I'm going to decide when it will be appropriate for us to add this in as one of our specials. But we will read this sometime in elementary school. So that's on my plate. Finally, the textbook, I guess, is the right term for it. The textbook that I grabbed, the homeschool curriculum that I found, was Writing with Ease by Susan Wise Bauer for $8. And this is like $30 brand new. And it's like in great condition. And so what I want to do with this is read through this and see if this would be a good foundation for us, or if I want to go a different direction. Now, we've got probably 2 years before I plan on starting a writing curriculum. I do have the first level of Classical Academic Press's Pro Gymnasiumata system with Fable. The only thing is that that is really great for persuasive, argumentative writing, but that's not all there is to writing. And so I want to be able to preview a bunch of different writing curricula. And if I can buy them at a discount, like a pretty steep discount, so I have time to really sit and preview them, I'd like to do that. And if I find that this is not going to work for me, I do not think that this is right for our family, I can go and take it to our homeschool consignment. And, you know, I might make $2 or $3 back, but then that can be applied towards new curriculum. So that is my thought here, because this is a really, really nice discount. So those are my finds. I have this giant stack, primarily of picture books this year. I'm trying to be good about not buying too many chapter books right now. Here's my giant stack. And as you may have guessed, and I will do a whole video about this soon, I am pretty confident we are going to be making a switch from primarily doing world history and ancient history for the rest of this year into doing the Alviary level 1. I just think that that's going to serve us a little bit better, and we can definitely complete it, even though we are, for us, like 10 weeks into our school. We still have plenty of time. So that's not a worry. I just think that I need a little bit more structure that has room for breathing, which this curriculum does. And I will do a whole video on what we're going to do there. But these are all books. None of them are required for the curriculum. I kept thinking that one of them would be. This one, I think is in a collection that is free online because of the copyright is expired. So if it's between reading that one that's just a PDF and this pretty version, we'll do that. And the rest of them are not required. They have one called Moonstick, and we will probably see if we have it at the library, and then if not, just buy that one. But I figure we are going to be doing maybe a day that is more of the like history part, and then a day where we read a folk tale. And I am going to try to pull back from some of the things I've been trying to do and just focus on fewer things. I don't think we're going to give up completely on our ancient history stream. I think we might do a little bit of it, and I'll give you more of my thoughts in a different video. I'll do a video for next week and I'll give you more of my thoughts, but that is what I am thinking of. And now you've seen that I went out and invested in some books, and hey, you know what? We're going to read all of these, even if we don't end up doing the whole Alviary program. We're going to read all of these. November is Native American History Month, so we can just immerse ourselves in really great Native American folktales and enjoy it and love it and be happy. Comment down below and let me know, y'all, if you have had any really super good finds at thrift stores or online, or if you've had a curriculum pivot, or if you have had something that has brought you some joy. I've been doing a pretty good job of not buying more curriculum for the last several weeks, which for me is great, because I won't buy anything for myself, but I will absolutely invest in curriculum for my kids. But I, found a bunch of good stuff, and I was able to get like 20 different items for under $45. I feel like that's a win. I'm really excited to do some pre-reading, particularly of this one. I'm really, really excited to dive into it. I think I'm going to go read a chapter of Charlotte Mason tonight, and then a chapter of this, and see if it will work. I hope you guys are doing well. We are in November. Can you believe it? It's November. What? The time flies. Until the next video.